So neurotransmitters are those biochemical substances that are being found in the neurons of the individual brain, and their actions in the brain have been implicated to some person's behavior. Their behaviors like learning, thoughts, feelings are basically, determine whether the individual is normal or abnormal, or the amount of neurotransmitter is in a normal amount or in an abnormal amount. So the larger the amount released or the larger the extent of the neurotransmitter will also determine the extent of its oppression. Even some substances like alcohol and drugs have also been important, has also been attributed or implicated to enhance the release of neurotransmitters. But normally, neurotransmitters are normally released in the system, that is in the body. So even when these things are being released also, it have also been found to influence the outcome of the neurotransmitters activities in the brain if there is some diseases of the brain. So if there are some also, increased amount of the neurotransmitters, it also affect the activity of the neurotransmitter. But how can an individual characterize what is neurotransmitter? Remember, I have mentioned it before that we have the neurotrophins, then we have the brain modulators or neuromodulators. Those ones, they are also brain chemicals, but they are not neurotransmitters. The essence is some, like neurotrophins, they help to nourish the neurotransmitters, and they also release to keep the neurotransmitters alive. They also helps for what we call regeneration of the neurotransmitters, where the neuromodulators, they modulate the activities of the neurotransmitters. They modulate, because I told you that neurotransmitters can be, uh, which we also discuss more in detail, can be either excitatory in nature or inhibitory in nature, depends on the type of neurotransmitters involved. So the neuromodulators controls or modulates the actions of the neurotransmitters not to, collapse, not to have what we call cohesion, or have a neurocatalysis, or a neuro accident. Neuro accident, I mean, is that this is that result to some of the crisis where that we have increased release of a particular neurotransmitters. Then it will now also affect the release of the other one. But if there is no neuromodulator that will help for the neurotransmitters to be released where it's meant to be released, there will be an accident. Just like, let me come to the practical aspect of it, is in the road, where if there is not a traffic wardsman that is controlling the traffic, you see that some vehicle will collapse, and will collapse each other and lead to accident. So the same thing also occur in the brain. Then now that is the function of the neuro, you know modulator. Then we have the glias. The glias are basically called glial cells. Those ones, they are very also functional in the neurons. So but I believe when we are talking about all this, we have to be specific on them one after the other. But the basic aspect of my speech or my talk is the neurotransmitters. After talking about neurotransmitter, I will tell us the neurons collecting the presynaptic and postsynaptic aspect of the neuron to be discussed. I'm talking on the neuroscience of psychiatry. So now we say that for you to characterize a particular substance as neurotransmitters, one, they must be synthesized in the neurons. Remember, they must be what? Synthesized in the neuron. Can be in the cell body of the neuron or in the axon terminal of the presynaptic neuron. Take note. Then they are present in the presynaptic neuron must be in a larger quantity to the level that can be able to influence the postsynaptic neuron. Then they are also available, they must be available within the receptor site of the pre and post, okay, in the postsynaptic neuron. Then the availability of it is the quantity in the synaptic cleft, that is the gap between the presynaptic and postsynaptic, must be what, in a very large amount, that it can influence the postsynaptic neuron. And when the postsynaptic neuron have been influenced, when it is high in the postsynaptic neuron, the availability of it have to also influence the postsynaptic receptor sites. Then after this particular mechanism, there is another one where there is mechanism of inactivation of the biochemical, can be oxidized, okay, deoxidation can take place, decarbolization can take place, can also lead to reuptake of the neurotransmitters. So these are the characteristics of neurotransmitters, and it is very very essential you should know why a particular substance is called a neurotransmitter. I have said it must be synthesized in the cell body or in the synaptic terminal or axon terminal of the neuron. Then it must be released in a higher quantity so that it can influence the postsynaptic neuron. Then also the available amount in the synaptic cleft that can influence the postsynaptic neuron can also influence the receptor sites. Then that is the post receptor sites or receptor site of the postsynaptic neuron. Then when all this are being done, the mechanism of deactivation, or you call it inactivation or reuptake or decarbonization, that is let me say when there is a enzymic role also, where we have some other decarbonized enzyme, so we don't say it is a neurotransmitter. Even the reuptake mechanism can also take place. In activation mechanism and decarbonization mechanism are other mechanisms that is involved in neurotransmitter. So my next topic is the storage and synthesis, the storage and of the neurotransmitters, before I will now go into other aspects of it. Thank you. So even before then, I also try to talk on the what we call the classification. Sorry, before I go into the storage and the synthesis, or synthesis and the storage. I will first of all classify them and the synthesis, and talk about the synthesis and storage. But any of these can come, depends on the book, depend on the sources, depend on any of my video you watch. But now I'm telling you how it might also be more comprehensible to you. But it's better after listening to the characteristics of neurotransmitters. Now I want to tell you, you have known what it is. Then I want to discuss on the classification. Then so that we can know different classification of neurotransmitters before we now continue talking about synthesis and storage. Thank you. I'm ready for your service. It's a service rendered out of curiosity and for the care of the people. Just make sure you just subscribe, and I will really appreciate you as you subscribe. At least view and subscribe, it will help you with the ministry. Thank you.